Toastmasters, and welcome to the official District 40 podcast. My name is Johnny Randolph, and I am one of your co-hosts, and I am now going to pass it over to my next co-host.
Good evening, everybody. This is Althea Latang. Happy March. I cannot believe we're a couple days shy of April.
Yeah.
I feel like this year is kind of flying on by. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to our next co-host, Doris.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show. I'll turn it over to Keith, our new co-host.
Yeah.
Happy spring. My name is Keith Wills Allen. Hope y'all have a great week. Turn it back over to Doris.
Hey, and I am going to read our mission statement. Not unlike our regular Toastmasters Club, we have a mission here, and our mission aligns with our Toastmasters Club and our Toastmasters International. It is to educate and entertain our listeners and viewers by providing a positive and supportive experience to help our listeners and viewers develop stronger communications and leadership skills. Also, like our regular clubs, we here would like to help you with your vocabulary, and we have a word of the day. Althea, what is our word for today?
Yes, Doris, thank you so much. Our word of the day is inexorable. 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 And it means inexorable, yeah. And it means not to be persuaded, moved, or stopped. And here's an example of how to use this word in a sentence. A Toastmaster's determination should be adamant, inexorable, and relentless in their pursuit to become a dynamic leader and communicator. So our challenge today as Toastmasters is to utilize the word of the day. And when you do, you'll see us either wave our hands, you might hear a chime. Yep, there's the chime. So anyone taking a speaking role today would need to utilize the word of the day. So how has everyone's day been today?
Things have been good, District 40, I don't know about any of you all, but I'm excited about this conference coming up. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but I don't know. Has everybody gotten their hotel room and registered yet?
Yes, I'm registered.
I have not registered yet.
What?
But listen, I will be there. I just haven't registered yet. What about you, Keith? Are you going to be there?
I'll be there, but I'm also hosting. My daughter's got girls coming over for the prom. She's a senior, so I've got to juggle some things.
Aw.
Last year
Gotcha.
I had 6 girls under 16. I'm not sure how many it's going to be this year, but it just happens to be on the 15th. They always like to come to my house.
Nice.
Aw.
Are you the cool parent?
He's the cool parent.
And I've got 4 bathrooms. All I know is I won't be able to use any of them.
There you go.
They're not going to
There's
be
the
available
reason
at all.
why.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's the first time in 3 years, right? We're back in person. And so I'm looking forward to hanging out with some of my old buddies and, maybe we go carousing through the night. But what happens at conference stays at conference.
That's right. You have to come to find out what happens.
Oh, I cannot wait. I'm really looking forward to Friday night. Fun night.
Yeah,
Friday night fun night.
that's going to be cool. And the thing, family reunion? I'm looking
That's it.
because we had Bertina on the last show, and she talked about a lot of the fun events that are going to transpire during Friday Fun Night. So I'm looking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll have to regroup and compare notes and see, right, what was our best experience taken back from conference.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, as we always do, we have a guest. Miss Althea, would you like to tell the people who our guest is and provide a bio for them?
Absolutely. It is my esteemed honor and pleasure to welcome to our podcast episode this week our guest. He was very instrumental in my development as a Toastmaster. So I'm really excited to have my mentor here, DTM David Hill. Just a little bit about David. He joined the City of Columbus Toastmasters in 2014. And as we all have with Toastmasters, decided to join to improve our communication and leadership. But someone saw something special in David because a couple months after he joined, he was asked to become the club president of his home club. Can you believe that? About 6 months into his membership, he was asked to become club president. And with the support of his club executive committee, was able to help his club achieve President's Distinguish for the 4th year. After that, he got the leadership bug. He kept going. In 2016, he became a division director and was able to help his area directors grow the clubs within his division. Throughout his time as a Toastmaster, he has accomplished a lot of great things. He's earned his Distinguished Toastmaster Award. He was recognized as the Division Director of the Year for the 2016-2017 program year. He was also acknowledged and awarded the Toastmaster of the Year award in 2018. David, to me, is the epitome of a leader. He's a quiet spirit, but he commands the room when he enters it. And I don't believe if it wasn't for him just gently pushing me into some of the leadership roles that I've experienced throughout my time in this district in Toastmasters, I wouldn't be where I am today. So with that, please join me in welcoming, before I even introduce or complete the introduction, David was our immediate past district director for the 2022 year. All these years is kind of jumbling together for me. And he is serving this year as the leadership chair and has a great task of helping our district leaders find new and upcoming leaders for the program year. So we're really excited to hear from David about that. So with all of that, please join me in welcoming to our podcast episode, DTM David Hill.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction out there.
David, absolutely is my pleasure. And thank you for agreeing to be our guest this month. So with the conference coming up next month, we thought it'd be a great opportunity to invite you to our platform to talk a little bit about leadership opportunities within our district. But before we get into that, I know that you shared that you joined Toastmasters to develop your leadership and communication skills. But can you tell us, what was the most rewarding thing that you have done or experienced as a Toastmaster?
For me, really, it's just knowing that I've helped other people throughout their Toastmasters journey, encouraging them to really see the value in Toastmasters as I do. Not everyone who joins Toastmasters wants to be a leader. Not everyone wants to be a speaker, but I've been able to have some influence on a few people, not only within our district, but throughout our lovely nation and a couple of people overseas. So I'm really proud about that.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate the benefits that we've been able to enjoy with the pandemic. Although it forced us to kind of do business a little bit differently, it did allow us to expand our reach, and we're able to network with a team of Toastmasters across the nation and interacting with people in different time zones and different cultures. And we've learned a lot, and we've gained a lot of experience. And I know that a lot of us are looking forward to getting back in person. So I do appreciate, having the ability to do that as well. And like I mentioned in your bio, you have a really strong ability to see potential in people and help them to realize things within themselves that they didn't probably see or was connected to. Where did that inspiration come from for you to be able to see and tap into those hidden talents, if you will, in people?
I would have to say it was when I was in the Army. During my time as a soldier and then becoming a non-commissioned officer, I just learned to be able to see things in people that a lot of times they may not be able to see themselves, or they see it, but they're hesitant to really step outside the box. I was fortunate enough to have a mentor myself while I was in basic training, my first sergeant, Bernard Branch. And he always said, you know, Hill, and he was a scruffy type guy. He was like, Hill, if you take care of your soldiers will take care of you. He said, always look for something in them to test them, to stretch them beyond their limits. And he said, it'll pay back in dividends. And I've just always lived by that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Each one, teach one, each one, bring them up. So one of the things I love as a person that identifies with words of affirmation is quotes. And one of my favorite leadership quotes is from John Quincy Adams. And it simply just states, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, to become more, then you are a leader. David, what's your favorite leadership quote?
Jeez. I would have to say it was a quote that I actually came up with. And it's funny because I think about it quite frequently, and I've told it to some other people and they really like it. You can't live in the black and white if you're always living in the gray. So you can't be either black or white if you're always living in the gray. And you have to understand, because my background is very structured, military, law enforcement. It's black and white for us. It's either or. And the world operates really in the gray. But you have people who always want to say, I'm either black or I'm either white. You can't do that if you're also living in the gray. You have to pick one of the three, or at least one of the two, black and white or gray.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that could also apply to different parts of your life, right? So there's certain places where you need to be, if not this, then that. But then there's also some room in the middle where you can kind of be a little flexible. So not taking yourself too seriously and not allowing all the stuff to happen, but kind of using your discernment to kind of exercise, all of those. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So I'll go ahead and turn things over to my other co-hosts to see if they have any questions for you, David.
Well, David, I'll jump in here. You served as Program Quality Director, Club Growth Director, and District Director. What are you doing now, and how are you serving the district?
Currently, I am the immediate past District Director. I'm also the Leadership Chair. And my role as the Leadership Chair is to create a committee, which I did, and then we identify, either via nominations or people that we know, our next round of leaders.
Okay. And what next round of leaders are you looking for?
Currently, we need division directors. We're looking in a couple of areas, in the Columbus area, the Cincinnati area. Your division director is responsible for the division itself. Usually the division will have a minimum of 4 areas. Each area will have a minimum of 4 clubs. They're kind of your upper management. They make sure that things are passed down from the district to the area directors, but they're also making sure that the area directors are working with the club officers to ensure that not only are they receiving the information, but they're doing their trainings, they're passing on information to the members, and ultimately trying to grow not only the club, but the area and the division.
Okay. And if someone wanted to express interest in assuming one of these roles, how or what would they need to do?
They can self-nominate themselves. Now we're past the time frame for them to be endorsed or backed by the leadership committee, but they can still apply up until the week of the conference, and they will be able to run from the floor. We still will interview them, the leadership committee, and then once we say they're okay, we will let our current district director, Don Dehoff, know. But again, they will have to run from the floor.
What do you tell people, or how do you inspire people to want to take one of these leadership roles? What do you say if they say, well, I'm new, I don't really want to, be a leader, or I feel like I'm not a leader, and you with this ability to see the potential in people, what do you tell them that they might say, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot?
I tell my story. My club president, when I joined back in 2014, her name was Liz Reed, I shouldn't say was, but she was the club president then. She saw something in me and she tapped me on my shoulder. My whole Toastmaster journey, someone has always seen something in me and tapped me on the shoulder, whether it was when I was elected club president, elected division director, asked to run for the trio, being a part of the leadership throughout my Toastmasters journey. Althea had mentioned that with her, I saw something in her. Althea actually was running for a leadership position. She had put her name in, but I said, you know what, Althea, this won't be as fulfilling. Why don't you try this? And the reason I wanted her to try the role she ended up running for, which was division director, was because I wanted her to stretch a little bit more. I know how she operates professionally, and I knew that this would help her within her Toastmasters journey. And I'm proud to say she did an outstanding job as a division director.
You did. I agree.
Nice.
Well, thank you for that. Oh my goodness. I don't know if that I would even have ran for that position if you hadn't encouraged me, because it was something I thought that was completely outside of my comfort zone. I didn't want that much visibility, but you're right. Having that opportunity to, number one, network with other Toastmasters who were doing the same work. I learned so much from my peers that program year. And I think it helped me to even grow more confidently in the way how I lead in my professional life. And I attribute that to Toastmasters. So thank you for the gentle nudge with that, David. So in that same vein, the last couple of years, we've had our district conference virtually. And I know there've been some candidate showcase so that the audience get a chance to meet the candidates that are running for these different leadership positions within our district and have the ability to share with them their vision and what they see as far as that role is concerned. Do we have something similar like that to look forward to for this district conference that's coming up in April?
Yes, I'm working with our public relations manager to set it up. Our target date will be April 12th, the Wednesday before the conference starts. I didn't want to do it too far in advance for people to forget. I wanted it to be fresh on their mind. And I figured it would be great to do it a couple of days before the conference starts.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Do you have a question?
Hey, David, whether you're the club president or the district director, which one was your favorite role and why?
I would have to say my favorite role, are you asking me specifically between those two or just my favorite leadership role, period?
Favorite leadership role in Toastmasters?
It would have to be when I was division director. And I took that role, and Johnny can attest to this, but my vision was to kind of create a little bit of competition throughout the division. And what I did was I went out and bought a 4.5 foot trophy. And I visited every club in that division, my division. And what I said was, hey, listen, I will present this trophy to the club that gets 10 for 10, the quickest, at the upcoming spring conference. And I will tell you, notoriously, or I should say historically, Agawisi Toastmasters usually gets 10 for 10. But that year, it was a club up in Polaris. Was it Podium, Johnny?
It's hosted the town, I believe.
Hosted it, yes.
Chase Club.
Yes, it was definitely a chase club. And so many clubs that year became either President's Distinguished or Select Distinguished. And it was just a thought. I was like, what's the best way to really motivate people? And to me, competition. Friendly competition always, in my opinion, will motivate people. And I was really proud of all the members in Division C that year. They worked extremely hard to achieve the goals that they had. We were able to also grow the division by 5 clubs that year, which was outstanding. And at the end of the day, I was co-division director of the year with Lisa Lee, who also helped grow the division, also actually the district also. So to me, that was the most rewarding. The most challenging, just to answer that question real quick, would be my district director year because of the pandemic. And we were kind of coming out, but we weren't out.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, maybe pass on to the new division directors, instead of just doing it for the division, have them do it for the area. Just imagine all that competition that's going to go on. And
Exactly.
if there's
You
a
know,
trophy for each area, then they're like, oh, I want to get that.
exactly. Again, I was just trying to think outside the box. I thought this was good. That's a great idea. Friendly competition, whether you do it at the club level, I've talked about at the beginning of the year, buying a bunch of Monopoly money and giving each member $2,500. And as they do a roll, each roll is worth X amount of dollars. But if they don't do a roll that they sign up, you take the money. And then at the end of the year, whoever has the most money is acknowledged as their club's Toastmaster of the year because they're doing things, whether it's being a Toastmaster, going to another club. And since we're in this hybrid mode, they can do things outside their club, the district, the nation, into the world. So there's so many opportunities to really inspire our members. And that's what it's all about. All we have to do is just think outside the box. Don't be afraid to try things. As long as it's not against the policy and procedures, the sky's the limit.
Thanks for sharing.
My
All right.
pleasure.
if I'm
Well-
sitting here listening to you speak and the podcast speak, and I'm interested in serving in the district, but I don't quite know if I want to or not. Give me 2-minute elevator speech. Why should I serve in a leadership role in the district?
Well, for you specifically, Johnny, I know you personally. You have so much to offer as a Toastmaster. Okay.
And I appreciate that, but that was not how I was expecting that conversation
I love
to
that.
go.
But listen, this is what I would say to you specifically. First of all, why did you join Toastmaster? And you could tell me why, and that's fine. But more importantly, why did you stay? Because your why of why you stayed is what should be your inspiration to want to help and lead others. You see something, you see some sort of value within Toastmasters, but more importantly, within District 40, your division, and your club. Why not pay that forward to those new Toastmasters or to those Toastmasters who are they're right on the edge. They're like, well, maybe, I don't know. It's a lot of work, but what's the reward in the work? We have to always stretch ourselves. I've always said that if you're comfortable where you're at, you're not learning and you're not growing. The best way for you to grow and to learn is to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation so that you can learn. The beauty about Toastmasters is that even if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. I coined this phrase many years ago, and I know people use it. I say Toastmasters is a safe place to fail your way to success, because it truly is. You can fail, you can struggle, you can fall, but guess what? You'll dust yourself off. You'll have people there to support you, and ultimately you will become successful.
Okay, I like it. And that wasn't just to me. I was hoping that was to everybody.
Uh-huh. That was specifically to you,
Yeah.
Johnny.
Exactly,
For
because
you.
I have been
Focus
trying to
on the
get
failure
Johnny to
part,
do
like,
some more
well,
things.
if Johnny can do
Right.
it, I
Yeah,
guess
right.
somebody else can.
Right. That's what he meant to say.
That's what he meant to say.
Johnny can do it. Any of you all can
That's
do it.
I
right.
will
That's
never
right.
say that. I would never say that.
We'll say it for you, David. No worries. Well, you kind of alluded to this in your question that Johnny asked. But what is your why? Why do you renew your membership every 6 months and continue your journey in Toastmasters?
I love Toastmasters. I bought into the Kool-Aid from day one, and this is my why. I came to Toastmasters the third week of November back in 2014. And it was a cold, rainy, dreary day. There were two young ladies there, April Woods and Latanya Rowland, myself and another guest. And this was at the city of Columbus. None of the officers were going to make it. And these two young ladies had a decision to make. Either say, hey, sorry about this. Can you come back in December? Or what they chose to do was literally sit down with us and tell us about Toastmasters, how meetings are ran, what the roles were. And I tell you, I think about this all the time, because the reality, the way I am, if they would have told me, sorry, I probably wouldn't be in Toastmasters today. And that's the truth. But because they took their time out to see value in us, two strangers, that there was no guarantee that we were going to come back. The gentleman, he didn't, but I did. And I joined that first Thursday in December on 2014. There was no hesitation. I knew that was the right club. I knew I was in the right place at the right time. So I love Toastmasters because of all the opportunities that it has afforded me personally, and the influence I've had on members throughout Toastmasters, whether it's been good or bad. Again, I can't take all the good and feel like I'm growing. I have to learn from my trials and tribulations, my mistakes, and don't take things personally. Not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. But as long as I can wake up in the morning and say, hey, I know I helped one person, because that's always been my goal, just to help one person. I've been fortunate to have helped many people.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, we're looking at the future international president one day, right?
Well, you know what? We're going to take it step at a time. You know,
Step at a time. I got you.
I have to look at either if I want to be a region advisor or international director. But service, I'm going to continue. That's my thing. I'm going to continue to serve regardless of if I get my ultimate goal. I will always serve Toastmasters because I believe it. I love it. I think it's a great organization. I think that it helps people grow, you know, whether it's for a season or for a lifetime, it's okay. And once you understand that, that's wonderful.
I agree. I agree. Well, with that, we want to thank you, David, for joining us for this episode. Greatly appreciate it. So if any individual was interested in submitting their application for one of these district leadership roles, how can they get a hold of you, David?
They can reach me on my email address. It is toastmasterdavid@outlook.com. No, it's not plural, just toastmasterdavid@outlook.com.
Awesome. Well, with that, we'll make sure to put that in
Put
the
it in the chat.
show
Put it
notes.
in
Yeah,
the
we'll put in the chat.
Hey,
Well,
put
with
it
that,
down.
again, thank you, David, so much for joining us this evening. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And a wonderful spring.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I truly, truly appreciated this. I had a wonderful time. Again, we are looking not only for division directors, but area directors. And we're also looking for the top 7, which consist of, besides the trio, the district director, program quality director, club growth director. We need an administration director, possibly finance director. We need a public
Logistics
relations
manager.
manager and a logistics manager. If you are interested, you can contact our current program quality director, distinguished Toastmaster Lavinia Boyer for the top 7. And also, if you're interested in becoming an area director.
Great. And with
Nice.
that, we will go ahead and bid you a farewell, sir. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Have a good one, David.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care.
Well, that was great, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Toastmasters, the district, just like our clubs, they don't run by themselves, right? We need leaders out there, people who are willing to step up and take responsibility and participate. So, David, I appreciate your words of affirmation and your encouragement to get people out there to serve the district. I always say serve. I always remember Gene Bailey did a presentation a long time
Yeah.
ago. He always talked about service.
Service.
It was never about doing. It was never about like accomplishing. It was service, service, service. And that really resonated and stuck with me. So that's how I always think about it. Service. Cool.
Yeah.
David, you want to hang out with us? Or are you going to?
I can hang out for a little bit. I'm on call, so I'm
cool.
looking at my work phone just to make sure that I don't
Oh,
get a call. But yes, I'll definitely hang out with you guys a little longer.
welcome.
Hey,
welcome.
hey.
All
Well,
right.
now, as if you are a fan, hopefully you're a fan of the District 40 podcast, we have our various segments. Our next segment we have is called What We Learned. And you all may have noticed, even if you adjust it like your computer, the guy that's standing there, he looks a little different than the one we previously have. So we want to give special shouts out to Don Schulte. He's taking some time off right now, but he'll be back next month. But stepping in for him is Mr. Keith. Keith, please.
Keith.
I'm going to turn it over to you to lead us in What We Learned.
Thank you, Johnny. What we learned. So something in the last week, last 2 weeks, last month. I'm going to kind of start it off and then I'll hand off. So my favorite number is 7. And I have 7 tips for open houses that were in the March Toastmaster magazine. Their little quote thing, it says, if you want 50 people in the room, do enough marketing to attract 100.
Mm.
Timing is important, both in person and online. Create an agenda, stick to it.
Yeah.
Now, I have themes at regular meeting, but I think a theme is relatable for the Toastmasters open house. At the same time, it might draw people in. At the same time, it markets the event, it adds excitement and some pizzazz.
Mhm.
So you got like a real experienced speaker like Tracy Baker, but then you got somebody else that just joined last week and they're going to give like an icebreaker speech.
Mhm.
I think it's good to sit there and have 2 different levels of speakers so that people can see. Somebody gets up and they see Tracy like, I can't do that. But then they see that brand new person give an icebreaker speech. They're like, oh, I can start there.
Mhm.
Make sure you have membership applications that are printed out in folders for people. And at the same time, if it's a hybrid one, make sure you have one in chat as well. And if it's hybrid, make sure your online attendees are feeling welcome. So whether somebody is in the room or they're online, it should feel the same for both. Then if you have like a break, make sure whoever your Zoom hosts are sitting there talking to those people as well. And then if you run table topics, that's a good opportunity to have your guests participate. If I have like people in the room and I see they don't have a role and they're guests, I'm going to try to include them. I'm going to try to engage them on their break. I'm going to try to get them to participate, try to get them to open up and talk. And the key is make sure you ask them to join. I want you to think about March Madness. Sometimes we shoot and we miss. We got to follow up our shot. You have a guest book, you go back and look in that guest book and see who came, and then you follow up with them. But then maybe Athea made a connection with somebody and she's going to get in touch with these 3 people. But then maybe Doris made a connection with these other 2. And then Johnny made this connection with this guy from Michigan, and they made a connection. So then you take turns with who's going to follow up with everybody. Just make sure everybody follows up with at least every person that attended that meeting. And then last, this is my own tip. If you make it where it's fun, then the next meeting that you have, make sure that meeting is fun. Make sure you have a full agenda. Because sometimes people go to an open house with all the pizzazz and all the bells and whistles, and then they go to that next meeting, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, what happened to all those people? What happened to the food? What happened to the great speakers? Because it's the next meeting afterwards. That's how the real meeting is going to be. So you got to make sure that the next meetings are following up. And then if somebody wants to say they want to join at that open house, let them join. And then maybe at the next meeting, they're doing the icebreaker speech. So those are some tips that I learned from the Toastmaster magazine. I'm now going to hand off to Doris.
Thanks, Keith. And I will be sure to use those tips, as this is a shameless plug. My Reynoldsburg Club has a hybrid open house coming up April 18th. Everybody out there join Whitehall Library if you're in person. We're also going to be online on Zoom. You can join from our website. And our theme is, are you ready for this? The 90s. Do you remember the 90s?
Yeah,
Those were
sure
boom
do.
boxes and cassette tapes and Kid and Play and different sayings. So we're going to be stepping back into the 90s. Come on out or join online. So we'll make sure that we have those applications and those things that you mentioned here, Keith. So thank you very much for that. That was great. Something great that you learned. What I learned this past month really is feedback, to me, is only good if it's timely. And the reason why I say this is we had an award show maybe a few weeks ago at my job. And before they gave out the awards, they read what people had done. And the dates on those awards were like, 2021, 2022. And some of the people were like, what am I getting this award for?
Oh, no.
And I thought, why couldn't they? We probably say, well, it was the pandemic and now they're trying to catch up. But you could have gave those awards virtually, I think. I think to give those people that feedback virtually, say that boy virtually, so they know that they did a good job, not like a year or months later, because people forget what they did for the award. Or if you can imagine in Toastmasters, you do this speech and then your evaluator says, I'll give you your evaluation in a month. And so picture this, you do the speech and then you don't get any evaluation or any feedback. And then you keep doing that speech. And finally, someone says to you, give you some feedback, or that person comes back to you and say, here's my feedback. And you think, this would have been great a month ago, and I could have made a suggestion. How did I know I wasn't doing this stuff? Because nobody gave me any feedback. So I just think when we're doing feedback, it should be timely. And I think that's one of the things in the SMART goals, is to make sure that things are timely. When you're giving feedback, make sure that it's in a timely manner so that people can use it, incorporate it in their everyday life, and they're not going on with spinach in their teeth or something like that. Make sure you tell people. And so that's what I learned. And so now, I try to consciously do that. If you're going to give somebody feedback, do it so that they can use it then and there. So Althea, what have you learned?
I love those. I just want to give a shout out to both Doris and Keith. Keith, you said two things that resonated with me. in your things that you've learned. The first one is thinking about the person that's not in the room and making them feel like they're in the room. That is really powerful, especially in a virtual space. So I appreciate you sharing that tip with us, as well as there's like a quote that says like you miss every shot you don't take. So that kind of triggered that for me as well. And Doris, thank you so much for the timely feedback. That's something as a professional that I have incorporated into my daily work routine, that I'm providing that feedback as things occur. Because like, yeah, who in 2 weeks you forgot what you've done, or in a
Right.
month, right? So yeah, it's definitely better to give that timely feedback. It does do wonders for that person in their development and growth. But the month of March is Women's History Month. Did you guys know that?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share with those of you that may not be super familiar with what Women's History Month is, just a little bit of the origins of the month. So this is dated back to 1978, and it started back in California. There was a group of women that were a part of the Education Task Force for Sonoma County, and that group of women wanted to plan a celebration during the week of March 8th, which March 8th is International Women's Day, if you guys were not familiar or aware. So they created all of these celebrations, these different activities to really highlight the accomplishments of women in American culture, history, and society. They had no idea that that week-long celebration would inspire so many other communities to want to do something similar in their regions of the United States. So with the momentum of this acknowledgement of women's contributions to our society, it really inspired them to take things to another level. So the group of women, they organized together, and they were able to get so much traction to where it got up to Congress. And in 1980, President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential proclamation declaring the week of March 2nd through March 8th as Women's History Week. And with that, there was still some momentum going. And after almost 7 years of a lot of lobbying and petitioning, Congress signed into law and proclaimed the month of March to be Women's History Month. So in the month of March, it's a way to look at all the contributions that women have made in our society as a whole. And just kind of thinking on a smaller scale, think about the women in your lives who are the movers and shakers, the catalysts for change in your community or even in your home. So your mom, your sisters, your wives, whatever, just always take an opportunity to acknowledge people who have done things to really move our society in the way that it's going, especially in this climate where there's so much that's happening in different demographics. It's always good to take a step back and focus on the accomplishment and the things that bring us together, the things that unite us, instead of the things that separate us. So with that, I just wanted to share with you guys what Women's History Month is all about. And the fact that we are at the end of March, I've had the opportunity to attend several events throughout my city. I had the esteemed honor of helping some teenagers shop for prom dresses. And that was really empowering to help these young women empower themselves to pick out like one of the most important gowns that they'll ever wear, their prom dress. So that was pretty exciting. It was pretty moving for me to be able to help these women and just trying to find different ways to make that ripple effect in our community is what I'm all about. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Johnny to share with us what he's learned.
That's
Okay.
great stuff.
Yeah, great stuff that everybody said. Well, the District 40 conference is imminent.
Woo!
Events are going to kick off beginning Friday, April the 14th, and they will culminate on Sunday, April the 16th. One of the major attractions for this conference, right, 2023, is the keynote speaker.
Why is
And
that?
if you don't know already, District 40 has got a big wig. And I'm not being hyperbolic with it at all. They have a big wig. And the
Mhm.
person who is going to be the keynote speaker for the District 40 conference is none other than the international president of Toastmasters, Mr. Matt Kinsey.
Oh
He's
my
going
God.
to be doing the keynote address. Now, Matt is going to speak that Saturday, April the 15th. And before he regales, the Toastmasters audience,
Yes, I love it.
inspiring and entertaining and passionate and educational keynote speech, that Friday night, April 14th, he is going to meet with the District 40 podcast crew for a close and personal interview.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm excited.
Meaning,
Oh,
also, did I mention this interview is going to be live? It's going to be
live.
right here on the District 40 YouTube page.
Woo.
Yes.
Also, meaning it gives you an opportunity to engage with the president. You
Yes.
can log on and hop in the chat and
Drop those
ask
questions in the
questions.
chat.
Right? Put it in the chat. You can
Mhm.
also comment on anything that the president says or that we say. You can listen as you are hanging out in your hotel room before the family and fun activities begin that Friday night, or from the comfort of your own home, or maybe while you're driving into Cincinnati. Now, if you're driving, don't comment in the chat.
Yeah, don't
You
do
reserve
it.
that for a passenger, right? We at District 40 do not advocate texting, chatting,
Correct.
and driving. We
Correct.
don't.
Correct.
Don't
Absolutely.
chat and
No.
drive.
So
Don't
just listen.
Just
Put
listen.
your phone up to your Bluetooth and just listen. But however you choose to listen to this interview, you don't want to miss this extraordinary event.
All
Again,
right.
I want to remind everybody, we are going to be interviewing the international president of Toastmasters on Friday, April the 14th at 4:30 Eastern Time until 5:30 Eastern Time right here on the District 40 YouTube page. So you
All
don't want to
right.
miss this. You want to be engaged. And that is what I learned.
Wonderful. I'm excited about it.
I am too, you guys. This is
Super
pretty huge. This is
excited
pretty
about it.
huge for us.
It's
So.
pretty huge.
Yeah. And here's some things too. So I'm going to throw this out there, right? For our listeners, if there's any questions that you would love for us to ask International President Kinsley, please send those over to us and we will do our due diligence to ask those questions. But we want to be able to not only ask him questions from the podcast, but of course, questions from the members within our district. So if there's any questions, anything that's been burning that you want to know more about, and you love for us to ask this on this platform, please feel free to send Johnny. I think, Johnny, your contact information was on that flyer.
Mhm.
So feel free to send your questions to Johnny. We'll be sure to put his information in the chat as well.
And it's Johnny, JohnNY.L.Randolph@gmail.com. And as Althea said, we will update it in the chat. Okay.
You know, that is a big deal. They don't visit, every year they don't visit
Mhm.
these districts. They get sent a block of districts during different years. So this is a
The fact
really
that we
big
have them
deal.
for 5 days,
Right.
starting on
Yeah.
Wednesday until
Right.
Sunday.
That's very true.
So come on out, people.
Full hour, up close and personal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything else to share for what we learned?
That's it.
That's what we learned.
Yes,
Good job, Keith.
I love it.
We're going to jump into news that you can use. The purpose
News so
of
the people
this
can
segment
use.
is we will identify maybe skills in leadership or communication or any sort of way to enhance the quality of your life in news that you can use. So I'm going to start with you, Doris. What's some news that the people can use?
Well, the news that I think the people can use is you guys know me by now. I get most of my news from the Toastmaster magazine. Keith alluded to this earlier, that they had an article in there about poetry. Now I know it's not like that much about in a Toastmasters meeting, because usually poetry is not 5 to 7. It's sometimes maybe 3 to 4, maybe 1 to 2, maybe a table topic. But the article talked about some skills you can learn by doing poetry, such as writing, such as if you're new to public speaking and you're doing poetry, you can get a rhythm down, because sometimes poetry has a rhythm to it. And so you can get your timing down, your rhythm down by doing poetry. And then some clubs actually has like a poetry master or a poet master in their clubs. And before or after their clubs start or end, they'll have somebody, the poet master, read a poem. So don't discount poetry. It can also fit right into your Toastmasters club and give you some skills, writing skills, timing skills. You can learn rhythmic speaking skills. So just don't discount poetry as a part of the Toastmasters program. And that, I think, is some news that the people can use. Johnny.
I like poetry, to be or not to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, what is some news that the people can use, sir?
Funny that she mentions poetry, because last week I spoke to a group that had Parkinson's, and then a lady came up to me afterwards and she was wanting to use some poetry in a speech, and I was telling her some different ones in level 3 that she could sit there and do it with. So it'll be interesting to see what she ends up coming with. And hers was more on a personal poem that she wrote, and in ways to sit there and help people with Parkinson's, whether it was on increasing their vocal variety, making sure they drink water, stand up, making sure you're taking some deep breaths and stuff like that. But her vocal variety has improved a lot. And she's going to have a live poetry reading nationwide on the 16th of April.
Nice. That's awesome.
But Johnny mentioned, about the international president coming, but maybe you can't make it on the 14th because you got to work or something, but he's going to kick off at Jungle Gyms, the international market. So the international president at the international market at Jungle Gyms on April the 12th, that'll be their first event. And then obviously he'll be with us for the conference until that morning. So you got 5 different days to sit there and hear him speak, ask questions, at the same time, send your stuff to Johnny as far as chat goes. But one thing that I wanted to bring up is this morning when I was looking at clubs that were in good standing, we have over half the clubs in the district that are not. So just make sure if your club has their 8 members that are paid, or if you know somebody that's still competing in a couple of weeks, make sure that their club gets their 8 members paid. So the people that won the contest in the last couple of weeks will still be able to sit there and compete. So that's some news that you can use. I'll turn it over to Thea now.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, make sure that your club members are paying their dues. That's coming up in a couple of days there. All right. Well, my news that you can use is, as you guys know, this is our what do we call this? Our introductory year with the District 40 podcast, and it's been a blast working with Johnny, with Doris, with Dawn, and working with Keith this month. And it's really helped me personally develop more in my ability to engage in banter and being comfortable in front of the camera. And we are looking for individuals who would be interested in joining our podcast team. So we're looking for individuals who would love to be hosts, who can help with content creation, who can help with technology. So if any of you out in our district is interested in learning more about the podcast, and I think Johnny, you may be able to kind of do your little plug for the district conference with your podcast. class. But any individuals who are interested in learning more about what it takes to run a successful podcast, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We would love to have you guys join our team to help grow this platform. This has been really successful, in my opinion. We've been able to engage with the members within our district. We've been able to share information in our experience and just have fun while doing it. So why not continue this? We've kind of laid the foundation, and we can only go up from here. So for any of you who are interested in wanting to be a part of the official District 40 podcast team, please feel free to reach out to myself, Doris, Johnny, or Don Schultze. And with that, I'll turn things over to Johnny so that he can share the news that you guys can use.
Okay. Well, AI. Does anybody know what AI is? It
AI.
is
it like a chemical or something?
Yeah.
AI
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial
I
intelligence.
knew
Yes, it's
that.
artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, it refers to the development of computer systems that can perform tasks that would require human intelligence, such as learning, such as decision making, perception, and language. And the reason that I know this is because an AI told me. I didn't get this definition from Webster's or a dictionary or a magazine or even Wikipedia. I got this definition from an actual AI. But AI is nothing new. If you've ever heard of Alexa, Siri, Katana, those are all AIs.
Mhm.
But AI has picked up popularity or the topic of discussion in the last couple of months. People are talking about AI because AI are doing things that have never been done before. They're painting, they're writing, they're doing a bunch of different tasks. And this got me very curious about really what is this enhanced type of AI? I went online and I went to a system that you may have heard of. It's called ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is a new type of AI where you guys talked about poetry. Well, a computer can now write a poem. A computer can write a book. A computer can write a story, etc., etc., etc. And there are people who are worried about it. And, you know, they may have good reason. But I wanted to go in and check this out. Well, on the screen we have here is the website ChatGPT. And I started exploring it and messing around with it, and I found some really interesting things. I don't necessarily think the AI is going to replace people. Well, at least not yet. We haven't turned into like Terminator just yet. But I think it can work to help people. For example, I talked about the president coming to visit District 40. Well, I typed in what questions could I ask the president of Toastmasters? And then it generated several questions that I could ask. And I thought, oh, something went wrong. See, it's messing up.
You gotta love technology.
Robots, right?
It generated, let's see. Oh,
See,
well,
a human wouldn't have done that.
a human
about
wouldn't have
that?
done it. You're right. Doris. So let's try it again. What questions? What questions? If I can type, can I ask the president of Toastmasters? Well, if the problem persists, well, that's just terrible. So, well, anyway, I don't know. Let's see if I can try this over again. I'm gonna try it one more time.
You-
Verify your
Techno-
Verify
technology.
No,
computer is
ChatGPT.
verifying that a human is human. What
Right.
Can I ask?
That's
Oh,
right.
no. Isn't that something? No, you verify you're a human. Oh, you
Right.
can't.
Yeah. You're right. No,
Okay, and
you.
it is.
No,
So
Oh,
look,
here
you.
we go. Oh,
some
oh,
amazing questions that we
oh,
could actually ask the president.
Are they softball questions or pretty good?
oh.
I guess that depends.
Wow, it's
Let's look
going
at
on
it.
and on. Lots of
That's pretty
questions.
awesome.
We got 10
Nice.
great questions right here that we could actually ask the president of Toastmasters. The first one
Nice.
is, what inspired you to become involved in Toastmasters, and how has this experience been so far? What are the key responsibilities of your role as president of Toastmasters, and how do you manage to balance them all? I think that's kind of
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
As a
yeah.
matter of fact, I think that's two that I had written down.
What are the most important benefits of being a member of Toastmasters, and how do you think the organization has helped its members to develop their communication and leadership skills?
Nice.
How does
Wow.
Toastmasters work to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion within an organization, and what steps are being taken to ensure that all members feel valued and supported?
Now that's a really good one.
That's a
That's a really
good
good
So
one.
keep
Yeah.
that one.
I
Mhm.
thought so. With just one simple entry into a system, it generated these questions. Now,
Wow.
this isn't going to do all of the work, because you can have follow-up questions, you can have
Mhm.
additional questions, you can have more questions, you can tailor your questions to be more specific. But I thought, as an assistant and a tool, this would be a great way to help you in any task that you have. So the AI, from my perspective, isn't necessarily getting rid of people, it's working in conjunction with people. Now, I see that Toastmasters has also embraced the concept of AI, not exclusively with ChatGPT, but we have a tool called Udemy. And as I was on my mission to do research on AI, I started using Udemy, and it really provided some good information. I recorded a sample of a speech, and it provided me with the filler words percentage that I had. It talked about, did I use non-inclusive language, key or top good words that I had, weak words that I might have used. It also provided me with comments about things. What did it say down here? You used the potential weak word just twice. You may. It talked about the pace of my speech, how fast I was going, if I maybe should have, if I was in the right range, if maybe I should have went a little faster or a little slower. So these are all the topics that are going on in AI. Now, I know this can be a little scary for some people. They're like, no, I don't want computers having this much influence over my life, or it's too complicated. But I'm going to say this. Let's watch this video really
56
quick.
mass. I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At?
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard
Or
it.
around
I'd never
or
heard it
about-
said. I'd always
about,
seen the
right.
mark, but never heard
Yeah.
it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I
wouldn't
heard
be
something
around
big
or
fight
about.
up in the lunchroom the other
See,
week.
there it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean,
Well, Allison should know.
what
do you
is
say to that,
internet
Allison?
anyway?
Internet
Wow.
is that
Massive computer
right,
network.
the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers.
Wow.
And Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No,
Yeah, this
she
is
can't.
not that long ago, you guys.
Right.
Oh, Allison will be in the studio shortly.
What is
What
it?
does it mean?
It's a giant computer network made up of started from
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what this was.
It's like
You've
a
been looking in the
computer
dictionary.
billboard.
it's a computer billboard, but it's
Right.
nationwide. It's several universities and everything all joined together.
Right.
And others can access.
And I'm just
Right.
going to go away and let it finish. Right. So
Wow.
think about it. Those were three very intelligent, educated people, wealthy, with a show that broadcast to millions of people across the country. And they were totally befuddled by what the internet was. Now it is a common practice in everyday life. And as
Mhm.
Althea alluded to, that really wasn't that long ago.
Not at all.
Right.
Not at all.
Therefore,
Wow.
if you have trepidations about this AI and the way it's going, just remember 20 years ago, you were in the same spot with the internet, and now you can't even imagine your life without
Without it. That's so
it. And
true.
that is what I learned. All right.
That's a
Nice.
lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot. That's very heavy.
AI, be on the lookout for it. It's gonna be ingratiated into our lives.
I was gonna
That's the
say it's
thing. It's
coming
here to
whether we
stay.
want it or not, right?
Yeah,
wanted
it's
to-
already here,
it's already
actually.
right, and it's only going to become play more of a bigger role as we go forward.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's what I learned, and I'm gonna turn it over to you, Doris.
Well, thanks. I think we've all learned some valuable lessons here today and gave the news that the people can use. But let's I'm going to provide a little levity to get us ready for our humorous speech contest coming up. I picked a speech that was what I thought was a humorous speech. You guys tell me what you think. It is on leadership. And actually, the name of the speech is At the Rodeo, but I changed the name and I'm going to call it Where I'm From, because I think he uses that term a lot in the speech. And so that's where I'm going to that's what I'm going to call it. So you guys tell me what you think. I think it's kind of funny. So it's Dustin Thompson, Where I'm From, Dustin Thompson.
At the rodeo.
Is this on? Ooh, can you hear me? That's not usually a problem. When you think of leadership and life lessons, thoughts don't normally go to where I'm from. But I think you'd be surprised. Where I'm from is the boonies. Webster defines the boonies as a location so far outside of the city limits, even animals question your presence. And I've lived there most of my life. Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, it did not matter. My parents, nomadic Southern Baptists that they were, always seemed to find the boonies in every state. But for the purposes of this presentation, the boonies were in Texas. To give you a little insight into me, you first have to understand my father. He's a man's man. He played football in high school. He was a paratrooper of the Army. He was always kind of all the time. I refer to my childhood as my military service. In the summer, before the 7th grade, it was a bleak, hot Texas day, as every day in Texas is. And my father said, "Get in the truck, boy, we're going to town." Town? We
All
never got
right.
to go to town. Town was Bogota, Texas, population 491. And we lived 7 miles northeast. But town was where the things were. That's where the stuff was. You could get a root beer float in town. You could get tater tots in town.
Love it.
I said, sign me up. I got in the truck.
Yes.
But we didn't stop in town. We kept going through town out to the high school, and that's where I was introduced to football and two-a-days, which is a vicious, heinous practice, twice a day football practice. What kind of crazed fool came up with that in Texas? But I participated in it. You can imagine how joyful I was. My father said, "Go on out there, boy." I said, "I ain't going out there." No. Well, actually, I said that in my head. What I really said was, "Yes, sir." Because if you do as you're told, you'll survive. My father didn't actually threaten to shoot me in the face, but it was implied. I walked up to the crowd, and the coaches were dividing us into groups. They said, "You go over there." I said, "Why?" They said, "You're a lineman." "What's a lineman?" "You're going to protect the quarterback." "Well, who's this quarterback? Why do I want to protect him?" They said, "Just get over there." I said, "Why me?" They said, "Because you're fat."
Oh my gosh.
Because girth substitutes for talent in junior high football. However, I discovered it is possible to actually play football without any physical contact whatsoever. There was a whole lot of down, set, oh, get him. Because I wasn't about to get hurt. I live for special teams, kickoff return, punt return, because you can run here, you can run there, and not touch a soul and get told, good hustle, Thompson, looking good. And I'm thinking, you don't know from hustle, I'm trying to survive out here. I played for 2 years, and I decided I'd had enough. So I told my daddy, I'm not playing football no more. He said, yeah, you are. I said, no. He said, yeah, you're playing. So I did what any red-blooded American man would do. I went crying to my mom, and Mom, please, let me quit football. She said, Dad, leave him alone, let him be. And I overheard my daddy say, what's wrong with that boy, Mama? And she said, just leave him alone, he's trying to find himself. And he said, well, he better hurry up, because he's about to piss me off. So I tried new activities because there are very few injuries reported in marching bands and honor societies. I tried new music. I even tried new clothes. I went through an unfortunate period where I wanted to be a Madonna backup dancer with black clothes and hair down to here and 5 watches. If you remember the 80s, you remember me. But I was still where I was from, so I had to go to activities such as the 4-H stock show and the rodeo. Unfortunately, was during my preppy phase, because finding yourself sometimes does, but never should, in with somebody wearing pullovers to the rodeo. All it did was irritate my daddy and piss off Merle Haggard. So I stand before you as what I call redneck light. I'm still from where I'm from, but I'm educated and I'm embarrassingly ambitious. I'm an LVA. My relatives call me uppity, but I've remained true to myself because success comes in many shapes and sizes, and sometimes it comes with color-coordinated socks. And that's what I've learned from where I'm from.
I love that.
Okay, so what do you guys think?
Well, from a humor and content perspective, at least from my opinion, I thought it was like a 10 out of 10. He was hilarious. I loved his tone because it was very conversational. It seemed as if he was just talking to some friends, telling his story about his childhood. And I think that's one of the key ingredients to comedy, right? When
Yeah.
you're doing stand up, at least people that I hear the most, the more conversational they are, the better it is that people can relate to it, and the more funnier it has the potential to be for them. So from a content perspective, 10 out of 10. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought he was a really good storyteller. I could see him on the football field. And like all the other, I can literally see it as he's explaining it, and I think he's a great storyteller. I just wish I could have seen the photos that he was sharing.
Yeah,
It's
that
not,
was
it's
the
not his
thing.
fault.
Yeah, that's the
It's not
thing.
his fault, whoever recorded it. But I just wish I could have seen the photos to kind of reinforce the story that he was telling. But I enjoyed it too.
I agree with what Doris said about where I'm from. That's a good title.
Yeah.
And I'm from Louisiana. I was born there, so I can sit and relate. Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. I've been in a lot of those boonies as well. But he had some good hand gestures when he was running to the left, running to the right, using his hands, pointing for that. And then his green socks kind of added to it too.
Yeah.
That kind of matched his shirt. And then I can relate to from small town, the town of 491 people. You know, you can go get your root beer float
in town. Yeah.
And then Madonna, backup dancer, marching band. You know, you talked about a theme for your open house being in the 90s, and he's sitting there talking about back in the 80s.
The 80s.
But with my dad being in the military, then I could relate to some of the stuff he was saying too. And it's more like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't dare open your mouth to tell
You think
him
a lot of things in your head, right?
I did what every like red-blooded man would do. I went crying to my mom.
My mama, that was great. That was great. I love that.
Yeah, he had great timing down. I don't know, the pause, all of the things we tell humorous speech. You wait for the laughter to die down and then do the next piece. I thought he did a really great job.
Yeah.
When he talked about like alignment, if he stood away from the lectern or podium, then making it where you could sit there and see him, because like, okay, go this way, go that way, and then talk about on special teams and stuff like that. That would have been even more funny if you see his whole body when he's doing it, because part of it was kind of like hidden.
That was the
Right.
recommendation that I would have had. He clung to the podium a lot. He didn't really
Mhm.
step away from it. I would have liked to seen him step away from it strategically.
And I didn't really think he needed his notes. I mean, he can have the clicker, but he could done that in front. But to me, it would have added more to it. Well, one of y'all mentioned it, but if he makes it where you can see him and then you can see the pictures behind him, that would have been
Yeah.
better instead of him being hidden.
I think those are the three things. The notes he didn't need because he was killing it without, but every once in a while it looked like he looked
He
down.
would look down.
He should just I think it was a little of a crutch. He should have just threw him away, step
Yeah.
out from the podium, and then the thing that he didn't have anything control over, if we could have actually saw the pictures to go along with it.
Yeah.
But I
One of
think
the
he
things
could
he did. Go
he
ahead.
could
Keith, I'm
use this
sorry.
picture to go along with it too. So instead of having to look down, he could look at this picture in the football. He could look at this picture that he's sitting there talking to, and then kind of keep him on track, I think.
That's true. Yeah, one thing when it comes to using technology like microphones. So one of the things that he did before he started speaking was he was testing the mic. Can y'all hear me? Not sure that was part of his speech, but just definitely want to make sure for those folks that are using that kind of technology to make sure that it's working. So you're not,
Definitely.
using a couple of those seconds of your speaking time to test your microphone. So
It
Right.
seemed like it was working. That's why it was a little surprising to see him always stay behind the podium since he had the lapel mic.
Yeah.
You got the impression that he could really step out there. But I mean, those were small things. This was a great. Was this
I
a
thought so too.
Toastmasters event, Doris? Or
No, I think I just found that.
it would have been a great humorous speech.
It would have
Yeah,
been. That's what I
for
thought. I
sure. For
came
sure.
across it and I thought it was funny. Like that would have been a great humorous speech.
I mean, but he's funny when he made some points too about not getting hurt in the band or in the honor society.
Yes. Path of least resistance.
Who said it's really funny when you can make fun of yourself? Like he's just making fun of himself, talking about his family, and that's what made it funnier, I thought.
I thought there was so much truth in that too. Like
Yes.
Right.
I didn't think he was making jokes for the sake
Right.
of making jokes.
It's
He
like, this is
found
my
that-
life.
Yeah.
Right. I think I heard, was it Craig Valentine say, he said, you never look for humor. You never try to be funny. You look for the humor in the situation. And so he wasn't creating jokes. He was just telling you, this is my life. and
Right.
Yes.
This is
Right.
how I found the humor in this.
Yes. Yeah. And I think
great
the
point.
big part of the humor is the fact that we could all relate to parts of his story.
Yeah.
So like you're thinking back to your childhood, like, man, I used to love going into town with my mom and being able to get my favorite treat or, whatever the case may be. But I can't believe, so he's not a Toastmaster. So he just found this speech.
Well, that wasn't a Toastmasters speech or
Yeah.
event, but he
Wow.
might be a Toastmaster.
Maybe. It was great.
I thought it was their district conference. I did.
Yes, I thought too.
He was in the humorous.
That's what I thought as well. Really
just
good.
some tips for the humorous speakers out there for April.
Oh, I see what you just did there, Ms. Doris. I love it.
I think, like what you're saying, like authenticity.
Uh-huh.
That's what it
Right.
is, authenticity. Conversational tone. Just as if you're talking. What else? What else? Some tips we could say for humorous speech contest that we could glean from this.
Like use your stage. Don't cling to the podium. Your
Yeah, and-
gestures.
And allow some time for the punchline to land.
Yeah,
Don't be so.
definitely.
Pause.
Yeah, a couple times kind of stepped on laughter. He went a little too fast.
Yeah.
Great job, you guys. Good feedback.
Great clips. Thanks for sharing that.
All right, Johnny, back over to you to close us out.
Get it. So this is what? Episode 8, 7, 8, somewhere along those lines.
We're almost a year in. Can you
My
believe it?
We have
gosh,
to
this is
consider
amazing.
ourselves influencers at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put now on our resume, we
That's
are
right.
podcasters,
Podcast
YouTubers, and
influencers.
influencers.
I love it.
Keith, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Awesome. Out there, you got anything to say before we head out, ma'am?
No, I'm just looking forward to next month. It's a big month for our district with the
Big
district
month.
conference, and we're kicking things off Friday evening, you guys. So please join us on the district's YouTube channel and see our live interview with the international president, Matt Kinsley. You do not want to miss that.
Keith, do you have anything to say before we head out, sir?
Thanks again for having me. Have a fun, fabulous week. Baseball starts on Thursday. Go Reds. Only one way to go was up since they had 100 losses last year.
Oh my goodness.
Ms. Hibbler, do you have anything to say?
I love that.
Just ditto what Keith and Althea said, and then just add, if you haven't already gotten your hotel or your room, a conference bid for the conference, make sure you do that now. Spaces are filling up, so you want to get that. We want to see you out at the conference live, and make sure you tune in next. Well, will it be next year? No, it won't be next year. Make sure you tune in next month, as our show will be a recap of the conference. So make sure you tune in.
Yeah, and the only thing I want to add is I'm going to be leading a session on how to start a podcast. So if you are at the district conference, consider taking that class, and it's also going to be virtual. We haven't worked out all of the details, but Doris and I are going to have a camera and a microphone, and we're going to be all in your face. All kinds of questions. Did you like it? This is your first time. What do you think? Right. What are you wearing? All of those things that like a big red carpet event is going to be. Like, Doris is Joan Rivers, and I'm one of the guys that was that was on the show. So we're going to be doing that. And to echo everybody's sentiments, I am super excited about the district conference. Being back in person for the first, or being hybrid for the first time in 3 years, is something that's amazing. So I hope to see you all there, and we'll see you all back here next